In the next 18 minutes, I'm going to be showing you the 7 mistakes that are keeping you from scaling your Amazon business to $10,000 to $50,000 or even $100,000 per month. If you stop doing these 7 things today, you will grow faster in the next 90 days than you have in the past year. Because the reality is, most sellers are stuck. You're scanning products and you're finding nothing. And if there's products that you find, they're sitting on the shelf and you're not getting any sales. And then you're losing money because the product was too competitive and you didn't anticipate any price drop on the product. It almost feels like working a second full-time job without getting paid at all. And now you're starting to wonder if this even works. And I know this because I've been there. I sold over $800,000 in sales on Amazon over the past few years, but I've also wasted thousands of dollars on making these mistakes first. I've also coached thousands of students, and the ones that are actually winning, I want you to see some of the results that we have within our community. We have our student Maida. She started back in September, and now with our help, she's been able to scale now to close. She had a month where she made close to $10,000 a month, and now she's basically on pace to be able to make 30K within the next month. Now we also have Jules in here who made 21,000 in the span of 30 days. She's been scaling like crazy, and love to see her progress. And then we also have another student. His name is John, and he just crossed 100K, and he's pacing basically to be able to make 30K in this month. I just had a call with him last week, and he's absolutely crushing it. So now this month he's made 21,000, and basically already made $100,000 within that month. These results that you saw is not luck. This all happened from following the process and avoiding these 7 mistakes that I'm about to break down. So grab a pen, make sure you're taking notes, and let's get straight to it. Okay, all right. Now, the number one mistake most Amazon sellers make is buying products with bad pricing history. What that means is that you're buying a product just because its price is high right now. What that would even look like on the Keeper graph, just to give you an example, this is what bad pricing history looks like. So you can see that, right now the pricing is high, right? It's being sold for $60. But then over the past 90 days, it's basically been selling for $40 at its constant pricing. So it's been stable, and then it spiked all the way up to $60. Now, I'll have a lot of people coming up to me and be like, hey, is this a good product? Should I even pull the trigger on this? And I'm here to tell you right now, you can if you want to, but then it is very likely that the pricing is actually going to go back down to that $40 range. So you have to figure out and make sure that you're actually going to be profitable in that $40 range, because it is most likely to drop back down to that price. There hasn't been enough proof of concept for this product specifically, and price hasn't stayed in a $60 range for long enough for us to make sure that it's actually going to be getting sales. So for that reason, this is something that I would not be buying at all. Another example is something like that looks like this, right? You see how it's basically spiking from all the way to $36, then it goes back down to like 28. That's too much of a price fluctuation that you want to avoid whenever you're buying products. So if you end up buying whenever the price is high, it might actually drop before you even get the chance to sell it. Then you're actually losing money. So the fix is always going to be to use the Keeper graph and look over the past 90 days. Make sure that your pricing is always in a steady pace. So like you almost want to see a straight line. So the way that would look like, just in a document that I have here, so that's basically what it would look like. It is not a perfect straight line, right? Don't get me wrong. There's still some price fluctuation, but at least it doesn't go from 40 all the way to 60, then it goes back down to 20, then it goes back up to like 40. We don't want to see crazy price fluctuation, almost close to a straight line. That's exactly what you want to look for whenever you're buying these products. So that's the first mistake. The second mistake that I see a lot of people do is that they're getting ungated just for the fact of getting ungated. They want to get ungated on Nike because they saw their favorite guru talking about getting ungated on Nike on YouTube, right? They want to get ungated on groceries just because they were told that, this is the best category to be able to start out, which I agree. But at the same time, The problem is when you might find permission, but then you cannot necessarily find the deals that are within that brand or category that you got ungated for. So what you should be doing instead is with volume, right? So you're going to be scanning and finding a lot of products. So when you're going through the volume, so I recommend students to go to look for 100 products a day. Within those 100 products that you're looking for, you might find 3 products, you might find 5 products, you might find 10. But now here's the important thing: instead of skipping on the products that you can't sell because you're gated and just forgetting about them, you should all put them inside an Excel sheet. And then inside that Excel sheet, you want to be able to, once you have 50, let's say 30 or 50 plus products within that spreadsheet, you want to be able to find any patterns that you've noticed within those products. What I mean by this is there the same brand, right? Is it the same brand? Is it the same category? Because if you have like 5 product or 10 products out of the 50 products that you found that are within the category of groceries, then it makes sense for you to get on groceries, but because that's what you're able to find right now, right? So the main problem isn't even on gating, it's the fact that you can't find products, right? And if you can't find products, then that's great. You need to put them into a database where you can actually see if there's similarities within those products, and then make your on gating decisions that way. So that's how you make targeted on gating decisions versus just getting ungated for Adidas just because your favorite guru told you so. The third mistake is not making enough profit. So I see a lot of Amazon sellers, they're buying a product, they feel like it's going to make them money, but then after fees, they don't realize that they're actually not going to be making money at all. So the easiest fix that you could do is, first of all, making sure that you're buying a product that's going to make you enough profit, right? Seems pretty, self-intuitive. So at the bare minimum, $2 in profit and 25% ROI at the bare minimum, right? Obviously, sky's the limit from there, but at the bare minimum, that's really what you want to be looking for. And that's just in case, there's Amazon fees that are coming up, or there's like prep center fees that you weren't aware of. So anything, any fees that you were not expecting, the $2 can basically cover it if something were to happen, worst case scenario. So that's why $2 profit is usually a good baseline to go for. So if you want to make sure that you're actually profitable at the after fees, this is why I'm actually using SellerAmp. So SellerAmp is actually a very good tool to be able to figure out, okay, where exactly should you put to actually input all the hidden fees that like Amazon has. So if we go into SellerAmp real quick, so now we're on SellerAmp, we're going to go into settings, and now inside the settings, you can basically put all the prepping fees. For example, you can put your inbound FBA shipping. So all of this information, SellerAmp needs to know. So then that way, whenever you're shipping your product or you're looking at a product on Amazon, you basically know exactly what your net profit is, right? By inputting all these information here. So that's why it's super important for you to understand how to input that information and then to figure out, if you're actually going to be making money at the end of the day, right? This fourth mistake that I see a lot of Amazon sellers make is trying to fight Amazon. Okay. This is like trying to fight, the casino. The house is always going to win. So in this case, Amazon is always going to win. So you don't want to buy products that Amazon sells themselves and that they won't share with others, meaning that they're not sharing the buy box at all. So if there's a buy box, if for those of you guys who don't know, the buy box is for those of you guys who don't know, the buy box is actually the section that you see on the right inside when you're looking at the listing. So let's just go on a product real quick. I'm just going to click on the random one here. So that's the buy box right here. We can see that, Price Grab is actually the one that owns the buy box right now. There's always going to be one seller that's featured. And you want to make sure that Amazon is actually sharing the buy box, right? So you want to be able to, and the way that you're able to figure out if Amazon is sharing the buy box is when you go inside SellerAmp, if you scroll down to buy box analysis, you'll be able to see if Amazon is actually sharing the buy box. So anything more than 60% at the tops, like 75%, that's really what I would go for. That's really maximum. If there's only the buy box for more than that percentage, then it's usually an indicator that you're not going to get a lot of sales. So you would probably want to avoid that type of product because you won't be able to get sales anyway. So you always want to make sure that Amazon is actually, if they are in stock, that they're sharing the buy box. One thing, another tip that I could give you is you also using Keeper Product Finder. There is a setting inside Keeper Product Finder where you can actually look for these type of products specifically. And if I could just show it to you real quick. So if we go into Keepa.com, which is also another tool I recommend you guys to have. So Keepa and SellerAmp, great combo. We're gonna scroll down into buy box. I just need to find it right here. So this is the buy box section, and we're gonna go to the buy box percentage on Amazon, and we're gonna put this at over the past 90 days. We can put 60 or 70, whatever you're comfortable with. And now it's only going to find you products. It's scraping the Amazon database, and now it's only going to give you products that Amazon is actually sharing the buy box with, right? And if it exceeds 60%, it's not going to show you in the results, right? And then we can just click on this and do our product research from there. The fifth mistake that I see a lot of people, a lot of Amazon sellers make is that they're buying stuff that doesn't sell fast. So you want to make sure that whenever you're selling a product, that it has a very quick cash flow. So then you reinvest your capital into other products and then be able to scale faster. So if you're buying products that has less than 30 sales a month, then that's also probably the reason why that like you're sitting on a lot of products and it's not moving fast enough, right? So you always want to make sure that you're actually making money, and obviously that you're making money, and but then also there is volume on the product. So the ranking, right? You want to make sure that it has a good enough ranking. Usually, a ranking that's within the top 1 or 2% is actually going to get more than 50 sales a month. So in this case, that for example here, that product is getting 50 sales a month. That's a good product for you to sell. Obviously, I would not buy like 50 units, right? Because you're competing with other sellers in here. But at the same time, within those products that you're gonna buy, you always want to buy 30 days worth of inventory. So you know everything's gonna sell out within the next 30 days, and then you can reinvest into other products. But you always want to make sure that there is demand from the get-go. So at the bare minimum, like I said, 30 times 30 sales every single month. Another mistake that I've seen a lot of Amazon sellers make is hiring for help too early. So what I've seen a lot of people do is starting out, they find sourcing that to be hard, right? Because they've never done anything like this before. And then they want to hire a virtual assistant to basically do the work before they know how to do it themselves. This is the biggest mistake you could ever do in your business, because this is the problem with that philosophy, right? And that way of thinking. If let's say, right, you find your virtual assistant and you've been working with them over the past 3 years, things are going great. And then all of a sudden that virtual assistant is like, Kevin, it's been great working with you, but then, I don't want to do this anymore. I quit, right? Now the problem with this is that now you're in a situation where you're dependent on finding another virtual assistant to be able to run your business, because you don't even know how to run your own business. So that's why it is super important for you to do the work for yourself first. Do the work yourself, learn the skills necessary to be able to run your business, and be a leader versus just a boss. Like a boss, you're basically just delegating, and you don't giving people orders, right? But when you're a leader, you're wearing multiple hats in your business. You know how to run, you know how to do sourcing, you know how to do accounting, for example, you know how to do returns, you know how to ship your products to the Amazon warehouse, you know how to do everything there is to do in your business. So that way, if something like this were to happen again, then if your virtual assistant were to quit on you out of nowhere, you know how to replace, you know exactly how to do that task. So then your business is not a limbo because you have to look for someone else to replace that person. So that's what a real leader does. And you need to make sure that you are an expert and then hire someone who can help you delegate that task so that you can focus on higher leverage activities. Now, the very last mistake that I see a lot of Amazon sellers sellers make is not having a training plan. And if you're looking to hire people, right, to be able to delegate tasks and work on higher leverage activities, you need to tell them exactly how you want your products to be sourced. Because, for example, virtual assistants, they all have different methods to be able to find products, right? And they don't necessarily understand your criteria unless it's really clear to them. So they will probably make mistakes and they will probably find bad products because they didn't know your rules. They didn't know that you only look, for example, for grocery items. So in this case, what you really need to do is you actually need to record your screen while you actually work and you're talking out loud about your process that on how you're actually finding products. So for example, if I wanted to teach someone, my virtual assistant, how to do reverse sourcing, I will be screen recording my screen and I will be screen recording and then I will be telling them, okay, this is exactly step number one. I will be going inside I will be typing it on the search bar, a private label brand from known retail store. So for example, I would put again great value. Then step number two, I'm going to go inside one of a great value product and then I'll be looking for FBA sellers within that listing. So then that have less than 1,000 reviews. So then I can be able to find their best sellers and be able to sell those products too. So I will be showing them step by step, click by click, how to do it. And then this is all training material that you can send to your virtual assistant. So the way it would look like, I always recommend when it comes to training to have for over the next 30 days with that new hire, with that new employee, you want to have a one-on-one basically every single day for like 30 minutes to an hour, right? And then within that time, what you're going to do is that you're going to show them a simple task that you want to be outsourced. So for example, if it's reverse sourcing, you want to teach them about reverse sourcing, your way of doing it, right? You are going to show them how to do it, right? For let's say for the first 15 minutes, and then for the next 15 minutes, you want them to do it while they're also sharing their screen, and they're going to also be talking out loud about the thought process that they're going through. This is the best way to be able to train someone and to upskill them quickly, and then also making sure that there is proper communication and expectation within both parties. So if you can avoid these 7 mistakes, you will be able to make a lot of money. So if this video was valuable, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.